Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Elevation 44. I'm Beverly or B, and if you're new here, welcome, 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 welcome. If you're returning, happy to have you back. Now, listen, I was supposed to take a month off, and I was like really hustling at the end of 2024 because it was just really busy. And when I say hustling, I'm just talking about having a lot going on, just very busy. And then I was like, okay, let me get to this holiday break. I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna rejuvenate myself. I did just that. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna come back. I haven't put out anything in 6 weeks. They're gonna think something happened to me. So let me go ahead and get this message out. Plus, there's a lot happening. There's a lot that's been happening. I've been consciously observing it all go down. And, if you were here over the last couple years, you already know that we sense this type of stuff coming and we talked about it, especially last year. I said that 2025, it was, there was going to be a lot happening. And I tried to give you the heads up, gave you that Pluto and Aquarius video, talked about Neptune that's going to be moving into Aries and also Uranus into Gemini. And then we have a lot of other placements and shifts and different things happening. That's the astrology. Today we're getting into the numerology, and the numerology really goes hand in hand with the astrology, and then also other things, but we'll dive into that. So I hope that you are ready to get into talking about the 9-year, and that's exactly what we're in. 2025 puts us in a universal 9-year, and 9 in numerology is the number tied to the end. It's the end of a 9-year cycle. It's all about endings so that we can fold into new beginnings. But with every ending comes a new beginning. It's completion. It's wisdom. It's transformation. It's healing. It's tied to the planet Mars. And Mars is action oriented. It wants to get things done. And Mars also moves quickly, right? It can be impulsive. It can be, it can use momentum to really dive into things and push things forward. But sometimes that really is uncomfortable because it's like you're not ready. Like, oh, wait. I was not ready to go there. I was not ready to do this. I was not ready for this to have left or be pulled away from me. And ready or not, that's what 9 brings, because 9 knows what is aligned for you, what you have gone through or moved through and what you don't need to experience anymore, and it will effectively sweep all of that out. And I will say personally, I'm also in my personal 9-year, so I can speak to this number and this energy very well. So my personal year started in July for my birthday. After I started my personal year, I broke my foot, and I was like, the hell? I've never broken a bone in all of my existence, okay? And, people break bones all the time. Things happen all the time. But the way that this breaking my foot situation set off a series of events, I just had to throw up my hands and say, you know what? I surrender. I surrender. And that's the best advice that I can give you about working with this 9-year. Is to surrender. And I think these are the biggest lessons that we're going to learn collectively in conjunction with healing. Healing is one of the major themes that is coming out of this 2025 year. So I'm just pull up my notes real quick, all right? So completion and closure. Again, this 9-year cycle has to close out. What did you learn and what wisdom are you taking with you? What did you realize during that process, through that cycle? And now it's a time to reflect on that and then release what no longer needs to go with you into the next cycle. Take the things that you need to take and leave the rest behind. And if you won't leave it behind and you think you need to take it, it will be taken from you. So letting go of your outdated beliefs, your attachments to physical things, to people, to emotional things that you're holding inside, again, tying back to that healing, that is going to be huge. 9 is also the number connected to compassion and humanitarianism. And one of the things that I think is really, really interesting as we are being forced to let go, as cycles are closing out, as we are in a space of reflection and healing, this compassionate aspect and this humanitarianism that is activated within us collectively is going to be necessary for two reasons. Number one, in order to heal, we're going to have to forgive. We're going to have to be less judgmental. We can be seeing a lot of increased focus around like our community service, humanitarian efforts, binding together to, take on social justice, equality issues. All these different things are things that you can see coming out of the 9-year on a positive note, right? Again, 9 is tied to transformation and renewal. So we're going to see big shifts, huge shifts, and the astrology backs this up, which we'll get into in another video or another conversation. But we have a lot of huge collective transformation in terms of our systems, in terms of our governments, in terms of our movements. All of that usually flares up in a 9-year. You get to see that taking front and center energy because there has to be change. The things that need to go will be cleared out. And this can become a testing ground, right? In terms of how we are so fixed in our routines and our comfort and the things that we find safe and give us security. Those are the very things that are actually holding us back. With Mars energy at the forefront, with the wrapping up, with things being taken away, with people being uncomfortable, with a lot of changes and transformation happening, heightened emotions are going to be up there with this 9 energy. And again, the astrology too ties into this because we have so many big movements this year. All of our outer planets have moved or are moving in the course of 2025. You have a lot of shifts into fire and air. It's like emotional turbulence can be present with this 9 energy. So be aware of big emotions or heightened emotions for better and for worse, right? It can heighten the negative things you're feeling emotionally and the things that are hard and you're struggling with, and it can also heighten the great emotions. So some of the global impacts that we're going to be seeing is endings endings of things, right? And new paths being forged. And there's going to be a lot of creativity, especially with this North Node in Pisces creatively, and some other things with Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini. There's going to be a lot of like invention and creativity and imagination and things that are poured in that actually helps improve things. There's something new that's going to come out of this. So next year, when we start that 1 year, we're going to see how these things start cropping up. But this is the beginning of that. Remember, the ending is just the beginning, all right? We also have social movements that are going to be at the forefront in a 9-year. We also have, because there's just like a heightened awareness of things and things that need to end and transform and change. We also have a big spiritual growth. So you'll see the rise of religion and just big spiritual movements, people tapping into their own spirituality. And, you'll just see a lot of that and a lot of those conversations popping up during the 9-year, and a lot of collective energy being shifted in those directions. Some of the challenges that we are going to be facing with this 9 energy is, I think the biggest one is resistance to change. Like when you resist the change, when you resist the transition, the transformation, and you're trying to hold on, you just make it harder for yourself. So collectively, the best thing we can do is to release, let go, and have faith and trust the process, okay? So that doesn't mean that all of us are going to do that gracefully, and that's going to be our biggest lesson and our biggest challenge. And the suffering that we have collectively is going to be dependent on how we navigate that. Also, emotional turbulence. Like I said, the emotions are going to be big, for better or worse. They're just going to be all over the place because it can feel very overwhelming for people, and people could be shutting down. And one of the, I would say, the shadow aspects of the North Node in Pisces is that folks will want to have an outlet to just escape. And sometimes just sticking your head in the sand and pretending like nothing is happening is a way for people to just kind of cope for the day to day, but it's not realistic for you to maintain that position, because things are happening whether or not you want to pull your head up out of the sand or keep it down there. And that's not going to make it any better. You can't make it go away, right? By trying to just escape it. There is no escaping. You're going to have to deal with it at some point. There's a lot of instability that can be present, and we'll see that play out in different areas. And that instability, you have to remind yourself that that's temporary. Like, we got this, you know, I can move through anything. Remind yourself of what you've been through and what you can get through during these times. So in totality, a 9-year brings a lot of changes, but for the better. Like, when I broke my foot back in July, I hope it was like, what the hell is this? And I did not feel very happy or optimistic about the whole thing. I was on crutches. I was, like I said, it set off a series of events afterwards. But now that I sit on this side a couple months later, I think this is what, like 7 months later, I'm like, oh my God. While it was not a comfortable process at all, I'm so happy that it happened. I just allowed myself to release it. And I was resistant at first. And I realized, I was like, you're creating your own suffering by being resistant. And once I let off the reins and I just flowed with my intuition and allowed it to guide me and had faith throughout the process, even when it was hard and when it's scary, because transformation can be hard. It can be scary. It's the unknown. It's the uncertainty of it all. I still just allowed it to flow and just remind myself, like, of what I've been through and what I'm capable of handling. And as I sit on this other side, I feel amazing and I'm so grateful. So embrace the change, trust the process, let go, even if it's feeling challenging, focusing on yourself, feeding yourself your creativity, and then also connecting with others and engaging in the things that make you feel good, but also contribute to the greater good, right? And prepare for your new beginnings. It's time to get excited. It's time to understand that every ending is a new beginning. What gets taken away is being replaced with something even better, even if you can't see it at the moment. Like, sometimes it does look murky. You have to just trust the process that it will clear out, that anything that is taken away will be replaced with something better, and that you can handle anything that comes your way. So just always maintain your faith no matter what. And that's hard for some people because faith is believing in things that are unseen, right? So that's my biggest advice for you. And practice forgiveness, not being in judgment, so that you can heal on an emotional level, because that's going to be one of the things we are all collectively going to be challenged with as a group, as a society, is to do some deep emotional healing. And that's one of the hardest things that we are tasked with while we're here. So allow this 9 to completely come and wrap up a chapter so that you're ready for the next level. And that is it. I am going to return soon because we need to talk about some other things. And I hope you found this helpful. I hope you're inspired to move through the 9-year with grace as you transform in the best way, as we transform in the best way collectively. So that's all. Talk to you in the next one. Peace.